Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Mailbag, the all mailbag show here on AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your questions. I'm Ashley Mova, and if you got a question that you want answered on air, you can email us anytime at You can email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Sitting with me right here to answer your questions is the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, John Campia himself. John, what's up?
Hey everybody, how you doing, Ashley?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. It's the weekend is almost over. We're almost getting ready to go back. Tomorrow we start AMC Movie Talk back up again. I'm very excited getting everything back.
It's been a long time.
It's been a few weeks.
It's strange. It's strange
it's
having
odd.
a break.
It's funny. I've been getting so many emails and pictures of people like a turkey on crack going
through withdrawals.
Going through withdrawals. It's been so funny to see. But yeah, we're back and we're running again. It was great to start off with mailbag, and now we get right back into Movie Talk tomorrow.
I'm excited.
Me too.
All right, first question of the day comes from Alex Probst, and they write, "Hey guys, love this show. I'm not sure if this question has been asked yet, but what happened to the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice teaser trailer that was supposed to be attached to the Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies? I was really looking forward to that trailer and was very disappointed when it was not shown. Is there any news of when the teaser will be released?"
Okay, first of all, there was never supposed to be a trailer of Batman versus Superman attached to The Hobbit. That was one report that came out, started spreading like wildfire. Oh, some third-party company put it on their Twitter that we might see a trailer, and then it was pulled. And now then everybody starts running, Batman versus Superman trailer, gonna be this thing. Nobody ever said, nobody in any official capacity ever said that there was going to be a Batman versus Superman trailer attached to The Hobbit. And I said on Movie Talk, anybody who's telling you that there is are lying to you. Nobody has actually said there is, but it just became this commonly believed thing that with The Hobbit was going to be a Batman versus Superman trailer. And we tried to tell people, no, it's not. No, it's not.
So you knew all along it wasn't going to be there.
No, yeah, absolutely. We knew all along. Why? Because Warner Brothers never said there was going to be. No, Zack Snyder never said there was going to be. Ben Affleck never said there was going to be. It was some third party company that this is where it all came from. Well, first of all, people just speculated because look, if there was going to be, and I said this in Movie Talk, if there was going to be a movie this early, which is way too early for them to put out a teaser, but there was going to be a movie that Warner Brother wanted to attach a Batman vs. Superman teaser to this early, it would make sense that it's The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies. It would totally make sense. It's a Warner Brothers film. It's a Warner Brothers marquee tentpole film. If you're going to release a trailer for that now, that is the movie to do it with. That is absolutely the right thing to do if you were going to do it a year and a half early. But it's a year and a half away. It just... And like I said, Warner Brothers never said it. Nobody in any official capacity ever said there was going to be. But it became this generally accepted thing that in front of The Hobbit was going to be a Batman versus Superman trailer. Look, would I have keeled over in shock had they played it? No, I wouldn't have keeled over in shock. I would have been surprised. But yeah, but I said before, man, if any film was going to do it, that's the film that makes sense. It makes sense that we'd want to speculate about it because it is a Warner Brothers film, and we did speculate about it. But out of that speculation, nobody ever officially said that it was going to come out. And since nobody said it was coming out, we said it's not coming out. It's just not. So, and like I said, we all want it so badly because we talked on Mailbag a couple of days ago about how ridiculously, irrationally, and immaturely excited we all are, including me, for Batman versus Superman. So we want to see it so bad and see some teaser, but let's keep it in mind. The movie is almost a year and a half away. Just under a year and a half, still far away. It's not the time to start dropping trailers yet. And if they do, I'll be excited and happy, blah, 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 but they will let us know that it's coming.
Yeah.
But it's not yet. And I'm guessing we won't see anything for another 4 months at least.
Is it illegal to do any of that, like that tweet? Is there going to be any legal drama over that? I
doubt it.
No?
I mean, look, it wasn't like it was revealing secret hidden information.
Right.
And it was a technical oops. Like somebody posted something and it was probably somebody's buddy that got a hold of the Twitter password for the company. And, hey, we're going to have a Batman vs. Superman trailer. Pull that off. So no, I think there would have been I think some legal responsibility there if Warner Brothers really did want to do that and they wanted to make a big announcement 48 hours before it came out and they wanted to do something like that but then some other company leaked it out early, then there would be legal ramifications. But for a casual mistake over something that was never going to happen in the first place anyway, they're pretty safe.
Okay. TyJuan Moore writes, hey AMC, I love the show. My question is, do they really have to introduce Kryptonite in the DCCU? I say this because it's the dumbest weakness ever. Thor, Hulk, Wonder Woman, none of them have a weakness, so why does Superman have one?
Okay. Here's the thing about that. And we talk about Superman every once in a while. Yeah, you kind of do need to introduce Kryptonite. Because you say Thor doesn't have a weakness. Yeah, he does. Does he have like one magic stick that is his weakness? No. But Thor is not almighty. Wonder Woman has weaknesses. She is not she's not all powerful. You're talking about all these other characters. None of them are all powerful. Superman is Superman. He just is. Now, I know Marvel fanboys want to argue, and I am a Marvel fanboy, but want to argue, yes, but Superman is vulnerable to magic, and Thor's hammer is based on magic. And look, no, it's Superman, it's Superman, it's Superman, it's Superman. Okay, just deal with it. Okay, it just is. But the problem that you run into, and this is why you need Kryptonite. The problem you run into with basically a god, which is kind of what Superman is in many ways. He can see all, he can hear all, he's impenetrable, he's all powerful, he's basically a god amongst men. The problem that you run into with a character like that, and what has made him in the comic books kind of boring during certain stretches, is the fact, well, what do you do with this guy? Like, there's a great, I don't know if it's done by the guys who make How It Should Have Ended or not, but there's this great online animation you can find on YouTube where Batman and Superman are hanging out together. So I'm Batman, and they're hanging out, and they get called to Commissioner Gordon's office. And so Superman and Batman are in the Commissioner Gordon's office, and I might not be remembering this exactly, but this is the basic gist of it. And Commissioner Gordon goes, "I'm glad you both came. We have a problem." And then Superman disappears for like 1 second and comes back. And Batman's like, "Where did you go?" And Superman's like, "I just went and ended all crime in Gotham everywhere." Like, all crime. I just stopped it. In like 1 second. Because that's Superman, right? And then a little bit later in the video, it's like, "Oh no, the Joker's got a bomb. He's going to blow up." Superman disappears for a second, comes back. Okay. And he comes back with the Joker tied up over his shoulder. All right. Funny. So I dealt with that. How long have you been trying to stop this dude, Batman? For like 30 years? And he's like, but that's the problem you run into with Superman. And what danger you're running into when you're going into the cinematic universe. You've got Superman, but you're trying to put him into this universe with all this other stuff as well. Why do you need the Justice League? Superman can fix it. If you follow through with Superman to his logical end, Superman can go and stop whatever problem there is. And if there's something Superman can't stop, Cyborg ain't gonna help. Wonder Woman ain't gonna help. And nobody else you got in the Justice League is gonna be able to help. If Superman can't do it, it's done. So you have to depower him a little bit. You've got to reel him in a bit and make him a little bit more grounded. And one of the ways you can do that is give him something that is a decided weakness, like Kryptonite. You can't, even in The Dark Knight Returns, Batman couldn't fight Superman without some Kryptonite being around. And that is what allowed Batman to beat the living crap out of Superman, because he had some Kryptonite on him, right? And if you look at Injustice Gods Among Us, ultimately that was the big plan of Batman and Lex Luthor to stop Superman, was to use the Kryptonite. Now, ultimately that failed, and they had to go get the other Superman from the other dimension to come in. Now I'm getting really nerdy. And then the two Supermen had to fight. But anyway, you got to depower him. If you're going to make a guy who is all powerful, you have to give him an Achilles heel. And Superman's Achilles heel is Kryptonite. With Thor or Wonder Woman and all these other characters, there are many different things that could fight and stop them and make them mortal in many ways. But with Superman, you've got to reach for something. And I think Kryptonite is one of those devices that makes it more logical, makes it feel a little more grounded, and makes Superman a little bit more interesting. An all-powerful god in a movie is not interesting. Introducing ways that dude can be stopped, that makes it interesting. So yeah, I do believe it's necessary.
Yeah, and don't you think a lot of fans would be pissed off if you didn't include it, because it's not the story. Like, how could you not include that?
Kryptonite is as much because you need that one weakness. You need an Achilles heel. Because it's been a part of the Superman mythos practically since he began. It's almost like having a Batman without a Batmobile. It's almost like having a Wonder Woman without, the Amazonians. It's almost like, it's such a key part of his mythology and who he is and what the character is. I think that'd be something that would be a sin to omit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julie James writes, so back in September, my husband sent you a question regarding your participation in Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and you aired his question and responded so tenderheartedly to his request. I appreciate so much that you aired his question. While this has been a hard year, your show truly has been a bright spot that helps him decompress, and it was exciting to see something so important to him on a show that means so much to him. Because of your addressing my husband's question and asking him to post locations that folks can donate, we personally received almost $1,000 for our daughter's medical bills from your viewers that very day. I appreciate very much your participation in No Shave November and your dedicated efforts to increase awareness and funding for cancer research. Our daughter has moved out of her intensive treatment and into what is called long-term maintenance, where she will take meds and chemo at home until May of 2016. This is a good thing. Again, thanks to you all for making a difference in at least our lives.
I hope a lot of you guys will remember it a few months ago when we had that episode on AMC Movie Talk. This dude, he sent us this picture of his daughter and he said she was his superhero and it was so moving. And he wanted to talk about childhood cancer and that they watched the show together and things like that. And it was like, oh my gosh. And we showed that. And I got this email, and I shared it on my Facebook page a few days ago for those of you who follow me there. But I got this email when I was in Canada visiting, and I was in my old bedroom in my parents' place. We're doing some work on some stuff, and I got that email, and I'm not joking. I cried for about a minute, and then for another 5 or 10 minutes, kept fighting back tears reading it. And what moved me so much, number one, it's incredibly humbling to know that we get emails every once in a while from people who say just watching your show and being able to talk movies with people just helps us get through hard days and things like that. And that's always amazing. It's incredibly humbling that you get to be a part of people's lives like that. We are a pack of idiots who just sit here and talk about, should Superman be weak to kryptonite? I mean, that's what we're doing. But to find out that in doing so, we help make somebody else's day a little brighter and a little better. That's mind-scramblingly awesome and humbling. But the thing, and the reason why I was really excited to have this question on the show today and this email that she sent in is because the other thing that really, really blows me away is that I am not just proud to be a part of the AMC Movie News team and community. I am ridiculously proud of the AMC Movie News viewers, because it was 1 year ago this week that we did a 24-hour marathon for the disaster in the Philippines for people you don't know in a country you've probably never been to. And I know when Dennis and Amy Rose and I were first talking about it, we said, hey, you know what? We got a lot of viewers who are really dedicated. We might be able to raise like $3,000 or $4,000 for the disaster relief. You guys raised over $25,000. We passed our initial goal in hour 3 of doing our 24-hour marathon. And then you guys, you kept giving and you kept giving and you kept giving. We did that stupid little ice bucket challenge where just because I was too afraid of doing something with ice on the floor, I decided I was going to pour a bucket of ice down my pants, right? And I got notified. You guys donated thousands of dollars to research that day. Incredible. I did something as stupid as No Shave November. You guys donated money to that. We told the story about this little girl and this dad. And the dad, in our comments section, we didn't share the link. We just asked the dad, hey, in the comments section, share the link where people can go and give. And you guys, for a guy you have never met, for some little girl you will never meet in your lives, you guys decided we're not just movie fans, we're freaking human beings, and we want to make a difference in somebody else. Sorry. We want to make a difference in somebody else's life. And you guys donate like almost $1,000 to some dude you've never met. That to me, we are a pack of idiots. It's just a bunch of nerdy fanboys and fangirls around the world. That is what we are, but we are more than that. And you guys prove that to me every single day when you say we collectively as a group of fans, we can be human beings and we can do some good things because we have this community, the sons and daughters of AMC, we have this community of people that we all belong to, and collectively, if we want to do something good, we got the power to do something good. And the fact that you guys do that, and you have continued to do that, and you go on doing that every time we ask you to, is flooring to me. It's absolutely flooring. I am unbelievably proud of the community that we have with AMC Movie News. I am unbelievably humbled that I get to be a part of what you guys do. And I just wanted to make sure I drew attention to this and say thank you to you guys, not just for this cancer cutie girl, not just for this great family whose lives you've touched, but also for all the fundraising efforts and all the charity efforts that we've participated in this past year and what you guys have made possible. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I can't believe we get to do this with you guys. So I just want to say thank you.
Such a nice story.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Chris Kramer writes, hey everyone.
Let's get back to nerdy stuff now.
Back to the nerdy stuff. Chris Kramer writes, hey everyone, love the show and I watch your channel all the time. Anyway, with everything going on at Disney, given the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe and of course Star Wars, what do you think are the possibilities of getting one more Tron movie made? I have always been a huge fan of the original and I love the look and feel of the new updated design on Legacy. I'm afraid it will get buried and forgotten for another 30 years.
I gotta tell you, I was one of those guys who I was really excited about Tron Legacy. I was excited to see it. All the preamble stuff. I remember at Comic-Con, the year before the movie came out, they took over this whole arcade and made like a Tron world in there.
So awesome.
Walking through it, it was so and I was so pumped. And walking out of Tron, I was like, meh. Look, I don't think it was a bad movie. There's some people say Tron Legacy was a bad movie. I don't think it was a bad movie. But I also know a lot of people that really loved it, and I can't be there with you on that. I wish I could. I really wanted to like it, but for me, it was a very underwhelming film. It was okay, but unfortunately, okay is kind of the best thing I can say about my reaction to it. And it did not do the business Disney was expecting. I know for a fact Disney was expecting a $700 million plus worldwide. The movie made $400 million plus worldwide. Now look, for most movies, that's
hasn't changed.
That's for most movies, you hit $400 million. That is awesome. But this was not just any movie. This was a movie that Disney put a lot of resources into. Before marketing, they put in $170 million in production alone. With marketing, probably came close to $220 million. At $400 million worldwide, you take away 1/3 for the theaters keep, and now you're looking at a film that the studio got back about $290 million. So now you're still looking at a film that made profit, but instead of the hundreds of millions of dollars of profit, it made the dozens and dozens of millions of dollars profit, which is not what they wanted and not really what you want when you're rolling the dice on such a huge financial film like this. Needless to say, the results of Tron Legacy took a lot of wind out of the sails because they were planning more films in advance. I mean, they wanted this Tron Legacy, and then they were already talking about what's going to come next. But the fact that it wasn't that well received, people didn't go out of their minds for it, and the fact that there wasn't huge positive word of mouth that drove more people to the thing, it took the wind out of the sails. Could another Tron movie still happen? Absolutely. Look, regardless of it didn't make the money they hoped it would, it was still profitable. It still made the money. It wasn't a bad movie. I contend that it wasn't a bad movie. So I think there's stuff there, but the momentum got killed. So could we? Yes. If I had to put money on it, I say we won't in the next 3 to 4 years. But it's possible. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Even if you thought it was friggin' amazing, don't you think that Disney has a lot going on right now? Do you think that they'd...
Yeah, but that's one of the advantages of Disney is, remember, we all think about everything being under one big umbrella at Disney. And it is. You got Pixar, you got Lucasfilm, you got Marvel, and then you have just Disney films, on top of that. But the reason they have Pixar and Lucasfilm and Marvel, and they all have their own studios that are under the Disney umbrella, but they're able to function and make their own movies. So Disney, outside of Pixar and outside of Lucasfilm and outside of Marvel, Disney can make their own movies. And sure, they make a lot of movies, but I believe there's room for another Tron movie if they wanted to do it. I just think now that they had expectations that this Tron was going to be a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and it didn't turn out to be that. So I think now they've just stepped back and they're reassessing what they want to do. I hope they do another one. I'd like to see them take another crack at another one. But because I didn't love it, I'm not going to lose any sleep if they don't.
We'll see, I guess.
We'll see.
Toro Hill writes, hey guys, got another question for you. Is Heath Ledger's Joker character from The Dark Knight the best villain ever to be displayed on the big screen to this point? If not, would you rank his character a top 5 villain of all time? There are a bunch of great performances when it comes to a villain in a film, so I'm very curious what you think about this. Thanks, guys, and keep bringing it, and Happy New Year to you all.
Everybody knows, if you watch the show, you know what I think of Heath Ledger's Joker and how great I think he was. Fully deserved. A lot of people will say, oh, he only won the Oscar because he died. No, he was going, I'm going to tell you right now, he was going to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, whether he died or not. That was the trajectory he was going to win. And he deserved it. But no, he wasn't the greatest screen villain of all time. And I wouldn't even put him in the top 5. But we're talking of all time here. Yeah. We're talking about thousands of screen villains we have. It is not a knock on Heath Ledger to say he's not in the top 5. Now, that's just my opinion. But you're talking about guys like, look, even in more recent years, we don't even have to go all that far back. Let's just talk about in more recent years, okay? Anton, played by Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men. I gotta give him the nod. I gotta give that Anton character the nod over the Joker. Myself. Hannibal Lecter is a more influential, powerful screen presence probably than Heath Ledger's Joker. Even want to stay in the DC cinematic realm. General Zod. I'm not talking about the new General Zod. I'm talking about the original General Zod in Superman 2. That is one of the great screens. Remember, I'm just staying in a more modern era. The Wicked Witch of the West, if you want to go back from the original. Generations of people have grown up with nightmares of the Wicked Witch of the West. That's a powerful, and look, Hans Gruber from Die Hard. Hans Gruber, one of the great screen villains of all time. And I'm sorry, and I know, I'm going to say this, but you're going to talk about any conversation with the greatest screen villains of all time. It starts and it ends with Darth Vader. Vader is the greatest screen villain of all. Far more of a cultural impact than Heath Ledger's Joker ever. Look, Heath Ledger's Joker is one of the great villains ever in the history of the silver screen. I don't know that I have him in top 5. And I've left off dozens of other people, dozens of other great villains that we've seen in cinematic history. But I don't think he'd be in top 5 for me. I don't. I think he's definitely up there. I think he's in the conversation. He's magnificent. But yeah, I don't personally have him in that top 5. That's just me.
It's understandable because when you say of all time, I mean, like that's
a
really
lot
big
of movies.
That's a really, really huge statement. But what is it? Because we hear about the Joker all the time. What is it about the Joker that just really connected with so many people?
I think the visceral nature of that Christopher Nolan Joker that Heath Ledger portrayed is part of it. That, Michael Caine puts it in the movie. He says, some men don't want to be reasoned with, blah, blah, blah. Some men just want to watch the world burn. And as you sink into that reality of that character, and the way Heath Ledger convinces you of that character, that he is just a man who he burns all that money. He just wants to see the world in chaos. He embraces chaos. He thrives on the chaos, and he's trying to bring the chaos. I mean, that's what he's all about. And that madness combined with the genius that he is all at the same time is a rare kind of character that we don't get to see in film very often. And it was just a fabulous mixture of Christopher Nolan coming up with this Joker that he wanted in his Batman movies, and then Heath Ledger being able to execute what Christopher Nolan wanted so perfectly. It just struck home for me and a lot of people.
Good. Yeah. Hagar writes, I'm a huge fan of fantasy movies, books, games, so only natural that I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. I thought with the success of those trilogies that it would open the door for more types of that genre. Where are they all at?
That's funny because I remember when the original Lord of the Rings came out, the the wizardry, sword and sandal, fantasy kind of genre had kind of been quiet for a long time. And then Lord of the Rings came. And the first one came out. And I remember myself and a lot of people, we thought, after we saw it, and it was so brilliant and so well done, we all thought that this is going to open the floodgates for fantasy, wizardry, sword and wizardry, dragons movies again. This is going to open the floodgates. Clearly, they can work and be both critical hits, fan hits, and financial hits. It can be all of it rolled into one. This is going to usher in a new era of all this kind of stuff. And then The Two Towers came out, and we still didn't see these new movies coming out. And then The Return of the King came out, and what ended up happening was that the Lord of the Rings movies were so good that it actually made a lot of studios go, this film is just going to look like a Lord of the Rings, like a poor man's Lord of the Rings or a Lord of the Rings ripoff, and it's going to flop because it's going to be seen as a Lord of the Rings ripoff. And it cannot compare. The other studios were in a position where like, we can't make anything that can compare to what the Lord of the Rings was. Because it was that magic elixir of a fan favorite, a geek favorite, a critic favorite, and financial huge mega explosion all in one. That is so rare. And never before has it ever happened with the wizardry, sword and wizardry kind of movies before. And so it came out and it's like, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
What can we possibly do now? Anything we try to bring out now is going to look like a pale comparison to that thing and it's going to bomb. And it kind of scared away a lot of the studios from doing those movies. It's like Lord of the Rings represented the type of film and the type of series of films that could reintroduce the sword and wizardry movies to us, the fantasy movies. But what actually ended up happening was it did the reverse. It actually scared other studios off from wanting to do it. And so, you know, maybe the fact that the Hobbit films, which I like all three of them, but none of them are as good as the Lord of the Rings original trilogy. Maybe now that we've got a Hobbit series that is a big financial success and people liked, but not quite liked as much Lord of the Rings, maybe this will open the door for more fantasy movies. Who knows? But it's just really funny that the thing that you needed, a great financial hit with a sword and sorcery movie to open up the floodgates for that genre, is actually the thing that ended up sealing the door shut. It's just really too bad it worked out that way.
This could potentially be a stupid question, but do you think that some studios are maybe afraid to try it because it's a huge financial risk? It's going to take a lot of money and it's huge time commitment. So do you think that they're shying away from even trying it because of that?
Well, that's the other thing too. To do one of these types of movies on this type of a scale, it's going to take a big financial risk. Like, you can't just make a $30 million film like this. I mean, you could, and you give it a shot. But that's why there's a movie coming out in 2016 called Warcraft. Warcraft is such an important movie for genre films in general because not only is it a sword and wizardry movie, it is a video game movie. We have yet to see a good video game movie in the history of Hollywood. There's never been one. And, you know, we have yet to see the floodgates open up for sword and wizardry in fantasy movies. Warcraft could be the answer to all of it. I mean, honestly, in geek genre circles, I can honestly say I don't think there's ever been a potentially more important film than this Warcraft movie coming out in 2016 because of what it represents to fantasy films and what it represents to video game films. Two incredibly big subgenres. Warcraft could throw open the floodgates to all of them. If it's great and it's awesome and it raises the bar for video game movies, suddenly now studios will know we can't just put out this mediocre crap that is the video game thing and just trust in the people who played the game will pay the money to come and see the movie. That doesn't work anymore. Warcraft can change everything. It could suck. I mean, it could. It's got a great director. It's got a great cast, but it could suck just like anything else. But it represents something so important to geek genre films because if it's, like I said, it's straddling that line of fantasy film and video game adaptation. If it is good and critically successful and financially successful, it could be a very defining moment in the history of the genres.
Ooh, fingers crossed. Jonathan Teft writes, "Hi AMC, love the show. I only have one question regarding Star Wars canon. Since everything from here on is now canon, will I need to read all the books and comics, play all the games, and watch all the TV shows to understand what's going on in the movies? As big of a Star Wars fan that I am, I don't have the time and money to do all those things. So will I be lost if I just watch the movies?
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about when we say Star Wars canon, and if you watch us, you probably already do, but just in case you don't, canon is like what is actually real in this Star Wars universe. Now, as you know, they've announced that all the old Star Wars novels, like there were 1,000 of them and stuff like that, none of them are canon. None of them are actually real. They don't ever actually exist or are real or ever happened within the Star Wars universe. But now that Disney owns Star Wars moving forward, any new novels, any new video games, any of that stuff is canon. They're saying it's all now officially a part of Star Wars. That same world that we're going to see in the movies, this stuff happened in. So it's an incredibly ambitious thing. I think it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. I really think it will. I think it was a mistake, but it's ambitious. It's interesting. So the question he's asking is, well, since this all is now officially Star Wars, to understand what's going on in the movies, do I have to go play the video games? Do I have to read all these novels and these things? Do I have to do that? The answer to that is simply no. They are not going to make it. So to understand what's going on in the movie, you have to have read Star Wars A New Dawn. To understand what's going on in the movie, you have to have played this new Star Wars video game. They're not going to do that. All it's going to do is provide some color. For people who have read it, it might make something that happens in the movie a little bit more interesting or whatever, but they would never make the outrageously stupid mistake to say, in order to even understand what's going to happen in Star Wars Episode 8, you have to read Star Wars Tarkin. You have to go read that novel or else you'll be lost in the movie. Ha 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 ha. Now you have to go read the book. That would be stupid. They would lose people so fast. So what a lot of these expanded universe things are going to do, what these video games and what these novels are going to do is tell stories from the past. The first new Star Wars novel is called Star Wars New Dawn. And it deals with some stuff that happens 10 years before the original Star Wars movie. Happens 10 years before, the rebellion and all that kind of stuff. And so it's in the past. You don't have to have known it. You don't have to have read it to understand the new movies. Or it's going to be things that happen off to the side of what's going on in the movies, right? Like, you might have the John Boyega character in the new movie talk to somebody for a second. And then you might have a book about that person he talked to for a second. It's real. It happens in the Star Wars universe, but it doesn't really overtly affect what's going on in the Star Wars movies to the point that if you don't understand or have read that book, then you won't understand the movies. No, the movies will be their own self-contained viewing experience. Okay. You don't have to have read any of this other stuff. You don't have to have played any of the video games. But if you do read them and play the video games and all that kind of stuff, it'll just make the world a little bit bigger for you. It'll give you a little bit of a nerd-tastic understanding of what the background is and things like that, but it will not affect the average person watching the movies whatsoever. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay, good. Because I was like, that's kind of, you could lose a lot of viewers if you choose.
You would lose tons of people if you made it a prerequisite. If you made it prerequisite, you would lose tons of people.
Alrighty. Joey Giuseppe writes, huge fan. I've got a question about the interview situation. I saw John's speech on it, which was great, by the way, but I'm just wondering why it was never a full topic of discussion on the show. Just curious. Thanks.
For those who know what Joey's asking, you remember the interview came out and there was the whole Sony hacks thing. Then there was the terrorist threats about the movie. And then came the decision by Sony to pull the films, and the theaters decided not to show the films and all that kind of stuff leading up. And then they did put out a limited release. Theaters asked Sony, let's put out a limited release, see if it's safe or not. And Sony said, no, we don't want to do that. And then the theater said, okay, fine, then don't show the movie. And then they did it. Anyway, it was such a huge, big mess. I came out, it was such a big story that we had to at least address it, right? So I went on AMC Movie Talk and I was really sick too. I remember that. I was super sick. But I made a statement. I gave a speech that basically said, look, here's why I believe, and nobody from AMC asked me to do this whatsoever. I said why I believe it's kind of the right thing for theaters to decide to pull the thing because of this, this, and this, and this. And I think there's a big distinction between people. People would argue and say, John, this is America. This is America. We don't let terrorists tell us what to do, blah, blah. I say, yeah, but there's a different situation between deciding what you should do and making a decision when you have other people that you're responsible for. This isn't a great argument, but the principle is here. Like after the 9/11 attacks, Do you know that the United States shut down commercial air traffic for a couple of days? It was shut down. Did we say, that's stupid. We don't let terrorists or some terrorist action decide that we can't fly? No, the United States government said we are responsible for the safety of our citizens, and we think right now it is prudent to not have any flights for a couple of days. And it didn't mean the terrorists won. It just meant, hey, we're just going to take a step back, take a breath, make sure we got all our ducks in a row, and then we're going to continue flying, continue on with our way of life. That's the right way to approach it. And I believe, my belief was in this situation was that movie theaters who are responsible for the safety of other people.
Yeah.
It was right for them to go, wait a minute, we're not going to stop playing movies, but we think there's a potentially dangerous situation here. And you know that the movie theaters talk to authorities and they talk to the government before making their decision. And so we just want to take a step back and take a breath here, and then we'll continue on with what we do normally. I read this one great conversation online that kind of became the basis for my argument, in this whole thing about making decisions on what you do versus decisions when you have other people responsible for. I read this one great comment, this guy online, when he said, if there's a bomb threat at my office, if there's a terrorist bomb threat on my office tomorrow, I am still going to go to work. But, he said, if there's a bomb threat at my daughter's school tomorrow, I am keeping her home from school tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's one thing to make a decision for yourself versus making a decision when you have responsibility. You are responsible for the safety of other people. Anyway, that was my whole point. And you know what? The reality is with this whole interview situation is that there was no definitive right answer. There just wasn't.
Right.
This is a situation that the movie theater exhibition industry, that the film industry in general have never faced before. And so this was our first time dealing with it. And so some people think, let's deal with this way. Some other people think, let's deal with that way. But the reality is none of us really knew what the right situation, what the right answer was. We just didn't know because we've never been through this before. But that brings up the question that Joey is asking here. And I've had other people ask me since, say, well, it was great that you made the statement, but why not? It's a big topic. Why didn't you have make it a regular topic in AMC Movie Talk? Why didn't you have it brought up and make it a point of discussion and debate and all that kind of stuff? And the reason I didn't do it, and that decision was mine. It was nobody else's. I made the decision not to because of this. It wasn't a movie story anymore. It became a political debate. It was no longer a discussion about a film and an actor's performance in a movie and how good of a job a director did. Where's the story and narrative going to go? And when's, who's the next superhero going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? That wasn't the discussion anymore. The discussion wasn't even about the interview anymore, about whether we think it's going to be funny or it turns out it actually wasn't even that good. But it became a political issue.
Yeah, totally.
It was a political issue now about what is the responsibility of dealing with terrorist threats? What is the right thing to do with terrorist threats? How do we as a nation respond in doing things like that? It wasn't about movies anymore. It was an issue about politics and national security policy and all that kind of stuff. All of which none of my staff, myself included, are qualified to give intelligent commentary on. And the reality is that now people were just looking for more food to yell at. Yeah. They were looking at something to feed the fire. I find that the people who really wanted to push me and really wanted AMC Movie Talk to discuss, giving into terrorist threats or making safety of people your number one concern and protecting the people you're responsible for. The people who really wanted it just wanted to hear what they already believed. And they wanted another person to yell at if we didn't believe what they believed. It wasn't about movie discussion anymore. And so I decided that, you know what? Since this isn't a movie topic now it's a politics topic. We're just not going to do anything. But because it was such a big issue, I still felt, okay, I'll at least address it.
Right.
I'll give one speech, one statement. This is where I'm coming from. And I said, it's my personal opinion. This is what I think. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think. But to go any further with it would have been pointless because it wasn't. We might as well talk about the Super Bowl. We might as well spend 15 minutes breaking down what happened at the Super Bowl yesterday, and it just seemed like the right thing to do was, this isn't our field of expertise. Right. This isn't what we do. We don't talk politics. We talk movies.
Right.
If political issues come up in movies and we'll, touch on them. But otherwise, it just felt like there's nothing good can come out of us sitting here and talking about it because it's just going to make people And like I said before, people just wanted to hear, no matter which side of the argument they were on, they just wanted to hear what they already believed. And they just wanted to yell at people who didn't believe what they believe. And it's like, that's not what AMC Movie News is about. And so I decided to keep it away from it.
So glad we're clearing this up because people can stop writing us on Twitter. Why won't you pick my question about the interview? I'm like, that's why. All right. That was all the time.
Oh, that's it? That's all of them?
Yeah, it's all the questions we have for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. And just a reminder to head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your showtimes, theaters, and ticket info. And if you want a podcast version of this episode, you can check out the description box below and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to the guys in the room, Dennis and Jonathan, and of course, thanks to the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, Mr. John Campea. John, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on the interwebs at all those various social media networks, particularly at Twitter and on Facebook. You can follow me on those sites. Just follow me at John Campea.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley Mova. And until next time, bye guys.